Good morning and welcome. I am Gabi Montian and my colleague Tessa Collins. We are going to be your hosts for the next hour. We are delighted to have Travelers and Roma Women together to celebrate International Women's Day. International Women's Day is on the 8th of March every year. This year, the theme is Choose to Challenge. International Women's Day, it's asking us to choose to create more inclusive worlds by calling out gender inequality and celebrating women's stories and achievements. Today, we want to bring Travelers and Roma women together so you can share your stories and achievements, reflecting on what makes you proud to be a traveler or a Roma woman. We know that this past year has been very hard for us, our families, and our community. We want to make the time today to celebrate the strength and the courage of a traveler inclusive and tell us a little bit about yourself. I don't know who wants to start. Anne, can you please make the start?
My name is Anne Friel. I am a community activist. I also work in Donegal Travellers Project as a role of a primary healthcare coordinator slash assistant manager of the organisation. I am a travel woman. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. And I'm also a grandmother.
Thank you. Who wants to go next, Gina?
Yeah, Gina Miyagawa. I am a Roma education worker with Cork TVG. I am a Roma woman from Romania. I am a mother and a grandmother and a Roma activist.
Good. Megan.
Yeah, my name is Megan Berry and I work as a Traveller Women's Awareness Worker in Carlow. I'm also studying a Master's in Community and Youth Work in Leitrim University, and I'm a very proud Traveller woman. I'm really happy to be here today.
Thank you. Mona?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Mona. I'm the Roma Health Advocate in Enniscorthy. I'm a Roma woman as well.
Thank you. Now I would like to ask my colleague Tessa to guide us in the next conversation. Tessa.
So good morning, girls, women and ladies, and welcome to this conversation for International Women's Day. I'm delighted to be the host, and we're going to explore a few questions with yourselves. So just maybe to start off the conversation, maybe I'm going to throw a question to Anne. Because it's International Women's Day, what does International Women's Day mean to you, Anne?
Well, for me, International Women's Day means, it's about the acknowledgement, it's about a celebration of achievements of women for the past 100 years. But it's also about, the opportunity to think about, as women, how we can work together in solidarity to achieve women's equality in Ireland. And we have to recognise there have been many achievements for women's equality in Ireland, but unfortunately, some of them equalities still don't exist for travel women. And as travel women, we still face many challenges and barriers in our daily lives, such as poor outcomes in education, low levels of employment, life expectancy. And we do still have hundreds of travel women and girls living on the roadside with no basic facilities. And very often it's forgot about, as women, we experience racism and sexism as women everywhere. But as travel women, we experience a complex burden of oppression and sexism and oppression. And today is also a gentle reminder, you can't have women's rights without the rights of travel women and women from other ethnic minority women. And very often, I would hear women in different discussions and different movements talking about women's equality, but you really, really have to believe in equality for all women. Because very often travel women's equality and rights is often ignored.
Great few points there brought up, Anne. and talk about inclusiveness and diversity. Mona, what does International Women's Day mean to you as one of the younger of generations living in Ireland, maybe?
Yeah, for me, it means one day per year that women can be celebrated and appreciated all over the world.
Okay. And what about you, Megan, being a young traveller woman as well? What does International Women's Day mean to you?
Yeah, International Women's Day to me means, all women together as equal, as Anne was saying, coming together, standing in solidarity and working as change makers in Ireland. So
very good points there getting brought up. And I'm just going to go back over to finish off the question to Gina. What does International Women's Day mean to you, Gina?
Well, like everybody else said, it's a celebration of woman achievements, but it's also, an opportunity to stand up, for our rights. Like Anne was saying, there's no woman rights without Traveller or Roma rights, woman rights, because we oftentimes, get, discriminated, and sexism, yeah, it's very well alive. I'm not saying that, settled women don't experience sexism or so on, but I'm saying it's more prevalent within the traveler community and the Roma community. So yeah, for me, it's a celebration, and at the same time, it's a time where we can voice, our concerns, and we can take an action.
So there's great points brought up with the four women, and we've talked a lot about International Women's Day, but we've brought up like what we experience because we're Traveller and Roma women. So next question, I suppose it's very similar, and I'm going to go over to Mona. And what does it mean for you to be a Roma woman living in Ireland today in the year of 2021?
Yeah, to be a Roma woman to me means a lot, but just to sum it in one sentence, it means for me a family, tradition, and responsibility of passing on those traditions to my daughter.
Okay, lovely, yeah. And Megan, what about yourself with the same question? What does it mean to you to be a Traveller woman?
I think for me, especially after the recognition of traveller ethnicity, it means a lot to be a Traveller woman, now that we're recognised as an ethnic minority. As Anne was saying earlier, Traveller women face layers and layers of oppression, and it's hard enough just being a woman, let alone a woman from a minority. So I definitely think that now we can celebrate together with the recognition of our ethnicity as strong Traveller women.
Very good point to bring up, Megan. And like we're coming up nearly to the 4th year of ethnicity, so it's important to bring that out as well since the 1st of March. Over to you, Gina. What is it like you for being a Roma woman living in Ireland? What's it?
Yeah. God, it's been tough couple of years in the beginning. I have to challenge myself first of all, because I wasn't confident, when I came, and I wasn't, strong enough to stand up, for who I am. But for me now, it reached a point where I'm honestly celebrating of being a strong Roma woman, and standing up for my community and working with my community and working with other people around. So yeah,
it's great as well.
Strong family, celebrating culture, traditions, and people around me.
And yeah, it's great to hear them words about celebration, about being proud, because even though like we would face so many things during our lifetime as being Traveller or Roma with racism and discrimination, yet you're very strong saying how you talk about your culture and also how you're proud to be who you are. And that's a great thing.
Yeah.
Over to you, Anne. How do you feel? What does it mean for you as being a Traveller woman today in Ireland?
Well, for me, I think, Traveller women are very strong and resilient, and we have overcome many obstacles in our lives. But I think we're very powerful together, and there's some fantastic, Traveller women out there fighting the cause for women's equality. And I think we can achieve so much as a collective, in relation to women's equality. But I feel that, as women as an individual, but we come over many obstacles. But as a community as well, we're strong and we're resilient together.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to move on to the next question, and I'm going to bring it on to Megan. So Megan, is there any particular memories or moments where you realised you were proud to be a traveller?
Yeah, for me, I suppose as a student studying community development and working as well, it's very hard to come across traveller women that are in the same role as me, you know, because there's so little travellers in third level education and things like that. But I think having strong role models, seeing strong role models growing up, you know, was a really, really proud moment for me, but also helped me to embrace myself as a traveller woman. Do you know what I mean? And I suppose a big momentous day for traveller women in Ireland was when Eileen Flynn got elected to the Seanad. You know, as Anne was saying earlier, traveller women are very often left behind, and women in general, you know, in the political sphere, there's a very low representation. But to have the representation of a woman from an ethnic minority and from the traveller community as well is really, really empowering, and having that role model is a very proud.
Yeah, brilliant, Megan. And like, it's kind of breaking the mold that travellers can go on further within their education, but making sure that the dim supports are put in place for them, and the same for Roma women as well. So just over to you as well, Gina. Is there any particular memories or moments for you where you realised that you were also proud to be a Roma woman?
Yeah, I can recall one in particular. Like for many years, you know, I was afraid to even say that I am a Roma woman, you know, in Ireland. Sometimes because there was prejudice and you know, racism and so on. But I remember a good couple of years ago, I was doing a presentation for my PhD, and my research area was on the Roma, obviously, Roma community in Cork. And I decided to present the code of practice and internal law of Roma people, you know? And it was a moment where, you know, I realized that not only that I'm proud, but I also challenged the misconception about, you know, Roma culture and Roma traditions and so on. And it was a very emotional moment because everybody in that audience, and there were a lot of people, they were utterly shocked and also impressed about the beauty of the culture and how they got challenged in their own misconceptions, you know, and they're all. So yeah, that was one of the most proud moments that I had in realizing and standing up in front of everyone and talking about, you know, the beauty of our culture. It surely made me very, very proud, you know.
Yeah, and it's a great thing to bring up when you talk about the misconceptions, because for both travellers and Roma, you'll always hear about a lot of myths and what people are learning about us in Irish society. But as I said, it's like people need to get to know us and be part of Irish society and to take on their own beliefs of who we are, and not to believe what all myths, what people are hearing.
Yeah.
So just coming over, just to
can
go.
I say?
Yeah, sorry, Gina.
Can I add to that? What I like the most is that I challenged them. None of them in that audience knew about our internal law. They never knew that we have a code of practice and an internal law. We have courts, we have judges. We don't need to go to, you know, the several people courts, you know, in our culture. So the fact that they felt that they, you know, they were in a minus, you know, they didn't know, you know, and it's so good to see people's faces that are proud of who they are and they think they're very knowledgeable and so on, and show them that there is so much more that they don't have a clue.
Exactly,
you know?
Yeah. There's a lot more to Travellers and Roma women than
Absolutely.
the Irish society knows.
Yeah.
We're magnificent, really, aren't we?
Absolutely, yeah. And they know very little about us, you know, and I love challenging that, you know, and showing them, you know, look at us. I mean, you had no clue, you know, you judge us, you think we're like this, we think you're criminals, we're, you know, thieves or whatever, but you have no clue. And I like that fact sometimes because, you know, it makes you stronger, you know, when you put it right there, you know, and you say, yeah, this is who I am. And you know, you judge me, but you don't know me, you know.
Exactly. So over to you, Anne. with the same question. So is there a particular memory or moment for you where you were proud as being the Traveller woman?
Well, I've been always very proud of my being a travel woman, but probably the first memory would have been a way back, almost been over 20 years ago, when I was asked to go in the Northern Ireland and talk about, challenges that travellers, talk to the traveller community, talk to travel women. And I remember going up and doing a presentation and looked around the space. And this was a day, about International Women's Day as well. And I looked around the room and I couldn't identify with anybody from my own community in that space. And, I presented, and, for the feedback I got, people like, we have a lot to say, we have a lot to give in society as women. And that was the day I was thinking, I am a travel woman, but I have a lot to give in society, and I have a lot to say. And I think that was the first time, in a women's setting, that I was very proud, because people did listen and people were shocked, that we were experiencing, that we were still facing. And then also what Megan has said, I think Eileen Flynn being selected for the Shannon, Senator Eileen Flynn being elected as the Shannon, it was a historical day, for traveller women across Ireland. And there's a proudness, the change can happen. And I think that was a very historical day and a proud day for many traveller women across Ireland.
Great points, Anne, as well. And like you speak there about how you went up to the north and you gave a speech. And I think that some people think, because again, we're Traveller and Roma, are we able to do this? And like, even if you go back in years of the history of travellers, where there wouldn't have been probably traveller organisations or so on, but yet within our community, we always had great leaders and great people to speak out. And I think that's very important. And everybody here today, like we're here today, and the way people are even speaking here, they're bringing up great points, and they might not even be connected to traveller organisations, but they're talking from their heart and about their community. And I can hear a proudness in that. And I think that's a great thing, because we do face so much, even though we're here now in the year of 2021, we're still facing our racism and we're still facing our discrimination. So just over to Mona now with the same question. So Mona, is there a particular memory or moment where you realise you were also proud to be a Roma woman?
Well, I have to say I was always proud to say I'm a Roma woman, because I know I have my community really united, and I know if something happens, I will never be alone. But there was a particular moment I was really, really proud, and I acknowledged I was a Roma woman. When I went to my job interview for the Roma Health Advocate, I was really proud to say I was a Roma woman, because I knew like I will get a benefit from that, and I was really proud. Yeah, so I will every time I'd be proud that I'm a Roma woman.
Okay, Mona. So just kind of coming to the end of the conversation, and we're travellers and we're Roma and we're proud women. But the question I'd probably ask just to end this is, what are some of the shared experience that Traveller and Roma women would have in the world probably, or living in Ireland? And I think I'll hand it over to Megan first to answer that.
Yeah, so I think as we were talking about earlier, traveller women in particular face an awful lot of barriers in terms of being a woman in general society, but also being a traveller woman, barriers with access to services in relation to domestic violence, barriers coming up towards education. As you were saying earlier, look, we've always had a very strong, powerful women in Ireland, but they weren't always recognised or identified for all of the work that they were doing, So I think that seeing the change and seeing so many strong traveller women out there challenging all of the inequalities that traveller women face today, and even, yeah, so there's so many issues. Traveller women.
Thanks, Megan, for that. So over to you as well, Gina. What do you think are some of the shared experience that Traveller and Roma women would face into this day and age? What do you think the shared experiences is?
Yeah, like Megan said, access to services, like in terms of, health and domestic violence, issues. And we know the traveller community and the Roma community, they have a shorter life shorter life expectancy than the settled community and so on, but also access to education, which is very important, you know, access for education for traveler kids and Roma kids. You know, it's not the fact that they can access the education, but the type of education, that the quality of education that they get, it's very different than the settled community. You know, we often seen traveler children or Roma children put in reduced timetables, you know, and basically this right is taken away from them, you know. Right to education, it's a right for every single child, you know, or human being. So by taking them away from those from the classes, also by being bullied and being discriminated in schools, you know,
Mhm.
it's a breach of their life, you know. And I think this is one of the shared experiences that we have. And accommodation, it's another big problem that equally traveler families and Roma families are struggling with, you know. Getting accommodation, it's probably one of the biggest issues, you know. So if you compare that with the settled community, it's a huge discrepancy, you know, between the two communities and the settled community. So yeah, racism, you know, on all levels, wherever you go, you know. Like I have one of my Roma women calling me yesterday saying that she was thrown out of the rice price tiles or something like that. She was literally, no, Mr. Price. She was thrown out from the shop from Mr. Price. And she was shocked because they were a group of three women and a child, and they weren't even allowed to walk in. So it's this kind of situations, you know, that both women, you know, are both groups are facing, you know.
Yeah, and even up to yesterday, as you said, there was a woman taken out of a shop, and even though we are very vocal, and it's important to keep that role as women, to keep our voices heard, to keep battling this. And what I get from women as well, and girls, we can get tired, but the fight is always there. Like we're still bringing up our issues around accommodation, and especially education. And it's great even to hear people speaking so strongly about education, how important it is.
Yeah.
And I think like we never get tired. The fight is always in the woman, I feel.
Yeah.
Just over to, oh, sorry.
Can I add to that? I had someone telling me that traveler women and Roma women are tough. And I said, yes, we are. We're not tough, we are strong, because we had to learn to fight a continuous battle with every single one, you know, with the society as a whole and with everyone that we came across. So we learned to be strong, and we learned to be, you know, to challenge everything around us. Yeah.
I think the same question over to Anne. So what are some of the shared experiences you think is out there for Traveller and Roma women?
I know some of the rest of what we mentioned, yeah, the shared experience of racism and discrimination and, you know, exclusion. And very often as women from the Roma community and the travel community, if we go into the public sector or go into the women's sector or go into the private sector, we will not meet a woman from our own community. And that's very often, and that needs to change, you know, especially within the women's sector. You know, it definitely needs to change. Time and investment needs to go into traveller women and Roma women to take up them positions. So that's definitely a shared experience, I believe, that traveller women and Roma women have.
Yeah, and I totally agree what you say. Like we need more travellers and women and more Roma women in the workforce and having that option. I think having them options, but also then putting in special measures to support our women to be able to go further. And I think that's a big key as well. So over to Mona.
Can I just say, but in relation to that, you know, there's many a traveller women out there and Roma women who have the skills, the accreditation, the qualifications to take up them positions, but unfortunately not given the opportunity. You know, and women, we know we experience discrimination. We try to access employment, and it's often based on our second name or a particular address where we come from. So it's not that the women don't have the skills. Women have the skills and the capacity and the qualifications, but not just given a fair opportunity to take up them positions.
No, totally agree with you, Anne.
Yeah.
So over to Mona, the last question to you as well is, so for you, Mona, what is your shared experience for Traveller and Roma? What do you find in common with them?
It would be the same, no difference, like education, services, racism, it would be the same thing.
Okay,
as
so
everyone said.
yeah, so I suppose, I don't know if Gabby wants to add anything here first before I thank the women, or do you want to come in and add anything?
Not necessarily. I want to, I don't know, I'm very impressed about what the Travellers and Roma Women are talking. And even if I know that, and, you know, we are passing through that in our daily life, it's, can you hear me?
We can, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, I can't say very loudly that I'm proud to be a Roma woman, like you are, Al.
Yeah. So just firstly, I want to thank Gina, Anne, Megan and Mona for a great conversation and giving your time out for this. You brought up very strong points. It's great to hear that us as women, we're strong women. You're very proud. There's no denial of being Traveller or Roma. We want to work in solidarity. It's very important also. As Gina brought up, we have very similar common issues in our education, within our accommodation, within our health and in employment. Them 4 points was very strongly brought up. I suppose Anne brought up a very good strong point there, that women are out there as travellers. We are educated, we have the skills, but yet we have to deny who we are as traveller women. We have to deny where we live. Megan brought up very strong points there about the mould, breaking the mould of education, and how she's in third level education and that she had to kind of fight her way through that. She brought up very strong leaders within the community. Also, Mona there brought up very strong points about being a young woman, having a child, but also brought up points how she's also proud to be a Roma woman. So I just want to thank people again, once again, for taking part in this conversation. I was delighted to be a co-host with Gabby. Not to forget as well, this is going to be put out on International Women's Day, the 8th of March. And we will be putting images out there and quotes, and I'm looking forward to the finished project. And I hope to meet you someday again in person. God bless to everybody. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you, Tess and Gabby.